Okay.
I don't know.
don't know.
Yeah, you talking about Salt Bae, bro? I don't know. I ain't paying no 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for no steak, my boy. I know how to
You,
cook.
I can't do that either. When you can go to the store and buy 3 steaks for $50
Yeah, I know how to cook.
and throw them on the grill. Yeah, cause you do got some hands. You be cooking.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know,
he
I'm
be
gonna
on
have to
that
start a
grill.
respective
Just
cooking
just just
channel,
don't get those.
man.
Just don't get the barbecue grandpa shoes, so we won't make fun of you.
Tap ain't even got a barbecue grill. Tap ain't cook shit.
Hey, it's rusted.
Tab, you can't use this barbecue pit.
It's rusted, man. I ain't got nothing to play out today. It's
It's been
rusted.
rain.
Oh,
Man, brothers, how's it been, man? Happy New Year, man. It's been a minute since we didn't checked in.
we back.
We are back in this thing, this platform, this space.
I miss you guys. It's been a while.
I
It's been a
know, right?
while.
Yeah, man. It's been a while. We definitely done had a lot going on.
Yeah,
We
man.
definitely back.
We've been off for a couple months, man, and so obviously in that time a lot has changed, trials, tribulations, losses, growths, things of that nature, and so want a quick check in before we get going. How's everybody doing? How's any updates for the world? Anything going on? How's everybody mental?
Ooh.
Man,
You had to go to the mental.
yeah, that's
Hey,
the
man, that's a check in, man. We ain't gonna,
Start it off.
we don't. This
My
perspective, bro. We don't do that surface level, man. How are you feeling? How's your heart? How's your mind?
I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, man. I started journaling because my mental was all over the place, and I'm like, dang, let me focus my thoughts. So honestly, I've been journaling lately and putting things to paper. It's been working out. So that's
My
the
journal
new for
right
me.
here, brother. Stay right
There you
here.
go. Don't sleep on journaling. It does help you get through some tough times. So that's my check in.
Okay. I like
Shoot,
that.
yeah, with the check-in, man. Right now, we said mental health. I'm doing a lot better, man. In September, I left my long time gig for like now I'm on my entrepreneurial thing. So I've been out of that space for like 4 months now. And it's crazy to be go out on your own. So that's different than that security.
Mhm.
But that actually helped me be a better person, be a better husband, be a better father, be a better whatever you want to call me. But it's a grind though. Entrepreneurship is a grind. Being working for yourself is a grind. Finding those new spaces and places you want to be at is a grind. So that's where I'm at, bro. I'm actually Gucci. Like if you'd asked me in September, I probably would have been about a 6, but right now I'm about an 8.
So eight's good. Eight's
It's
good.
real good.
I'm
Kobe.
I can't on a 1 to 10, I can't put no number on it right now. I'm still say to be announced. Shoot, I think we could do damn near a whole season on just events and life changes that I had for over the past several months. But I will say that progress in a positive direction that makes me feel better about life, makes me feel better about the events that I've had to go through and overcome is definitely where I'm headed towards. And I think that's the overall most important part. And I mean, shoot, y'all are journaling. I need to start doing that. But, we always share what we got going on. I go to therapy, and I go to therapy, if not bi-weekly, weekly, but I'm in there. And I think that that's, we underestimate that. We do not talk about that enough in the Black community, even though y'all are therapists, right? Like, and that's one thing I will say, not to let it go too long, but Dewan is a therapist, Jeff is a therapist, and un unconsciously they've been my therapist. Unprofessionally, I go to them and I ask them questions, but it's nothing like actually really going to therapy and tearing through something with somebody and different issues that you have coming up and got going on. And so that shit is huge for me right now. Therapy has been big and is helping me get in that right direction where I need to be at.
Good
Man,
stuff, my brother. Good stuff.
that's what's up. Hey, you talking about therapy? I'm still at the office right now.
Me
Been here
too.
all day.
Chilling.
Shoot, it's a long day, man. But man, as far as my mind, man, I'm good, bro. You know what I'm saying? I tell people, man, my norm is probably an 8. You know what I'm saying? That's probably my norm. You know what I'm saying? and never really too high, never really too low. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of even keel, but far from low. Uh, always looking to grow, man. Stay trying to move on to the next thing, move in that direction. I think one of the blessings, man, of life is, man, we are all fathers, so we all get to spend more time with our kids and things of that nature. So Jeff, when you said that entrepreneur stuff allow you to that flexibility, man, I love that, because that's why I think we all kind of take our entrepreneur situation, so we can take that, and therapy is important, man. I'm just tell people, man, find somebody to talk to, because the more you can talk to somebody, the easier things in life are, man. And so, uh, I'm happy that we back, happy that we rolling. We got a new year, new topics, new discussions, new conversations, some things that we wasn't able to talk about before we disconnected, but we are back here, and I'm glad to see you brothers are living, you're thriving, and you're growing, and everybody as well. So welcome back, brothers.
Yay!
We need that
Hey,
thing.
before we jump into it, let me
Back,
say,
welcome back, welcome back.
Oh, you like that, huh?
I like that. But
Hey.
before we jump into it, let me just shout out those that are watching, that's being consistent with us. So thank you for coming back with us as we came back. So appreciate them. Just wanted to say that out loud.
Yes. We already got some people that enjoying back. Some of our loyals, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Don, shout out to Monique. Monique day one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Monique is day one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look, when we make it big, we're gonna have to make Monique part of the team, because Monique is the day one supporter for sure. So
and that's crazy too, because I mean, that's part of the reason why we back too, right? Like the power of perspective. We've been off, if I'm just calculating roughly, since July, and we're just now back out here in these streets. And it don't matter where we go, people will be like, perspective. When's it coming back? When's it coming back? What y'all doing? When's it coming back? And we will get to why we took those breaks and different things like that in the future and stuff like that. But just know that didn't go unnoticed or unheard, man. Y'all definitely gave us motivation. And due to us all having different life events going on at different times, that came in at a time where it was like, damn, you know what? My purpose, I understand it. People want to hear something they need, and my opinion counts. And there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I know we owe y'all some topics that y'all like. I want to know what y'all would have said about this or that. But we'll get to it when we get to it. We're going to get to it, though.
Yes, sir. Well, man, why don't y'all tell us why we are here today? Because we back at it. We have a very important topic that is on our mind, and we talk about mental health and the importance of it. And I think, obviously, in the Black community, we talked about this, man, and why we started Perspective was to be able to just talk about things from the brother's perspective, the Black man. And I think that if there's anything that drives people to therapy, at least I know in my office space, particularly, Black men, is seeing some of the things that we see on the news and some of the things that we deal with within our community. I believe there was a statistic that came out a couple of days ago that Beverly Hills Police Department had pulled over this year, had pulled over like 105 people or something like that. And 99 of them were Black, right? Now, I don't know if anybody knows the dynamics of Beverly Hills, only like 2%. We've seen something similar with the cop. I'm trying to think of where that cop was, where the lady looked at his police report, and he had pulled over 100 something people, and like 98% of those people were Black. In the county, they only had 20% Black people.
That was in the South there. I saw that.
So we continuously seeing these issues with policing and things of that nature that, unfortunately becomes very harmful to our mental. And here locally, or not locally, nationally, we've dealt with an issue with, Mr. Tyree Nichols. Prayers to his family and to his loved ones, and for what has happened, and give them their strength and the blessings that they need in order to kind of navigate through the situation. But he was recently murdered by Memphis Police Department, and I'm just going to say that, and we can start the conversation and go from there. As a Black man, guys, before we really get into it, as a Black man, how do you guys think it affects your mind, your mental, you as a Black man, seeing other Black police officers treat that man and do that man in the way that they did him?
So, I mean, as we know, as the news is kind of coming out, and I don't know if it's real or not, but they say it's personal. It looked like, I mean, because I can't really watch the video, so I get little snippets. And I'm just thinking, like, I'm gonna put it in this context, right? So, respected, we riding up somewhere. We like, I'm Jeff. Like, Jeff got a problem. Let's go try to solve it, right? Respected, we ride, right? One or two or three of y'all would say, you are tripping. This is not what we need to be doing. So what they saying is, my man was like, oh, buddy was dating his ex-girlfriend. Let's go ride up on him and teach him a lesson. What lesson do we need to learn? She not your girl no more, bruh. Clearly, she with the next man. Why are you mad? If she wanted you, she would be with you. So you're gonna ride up on this dude, beat him up, handcuffed and tased. What do you gain from that? You feel like you a big bad man because you beat up a dude that's tased and handcuffed? Come on, man. And then you got guys that's riding with you that's doing that with you. Who you hanging with?
Yeah.
Sick. That's sick. And they people that look like me. It make it even worse, bruh.
Yeah.
So you just opened up my paradigm on this whole thing a little bit more. Because as I did my research, I was on the other side of it. I didn't really look at it if that was a motivation. I'm looking at what happened in general, and then the various individuals that got fired because of their lack of, policing each other. I guess I can say that. And I'm talking about from the police who were involved to the EMTs to the firefighters that was on place. Like, I'm looking at all those individuals who kind of just watched. And then I did some additional research to find out about who they were in general, like their task force and what their task force was built for. And then at the same time, there's more research that shows this isn't the first time incident for them. So that made me even think even more like, man, the people that look like me, this task force has been created to help better police the area. And we had these discussions before in regards to police officers who look like the population they're serving to do more work, but in essence, they almost did more harm to various individuals. So that right there, I'm like, to answer your question, Dewan, when's the next time then? I mean, if you got your own people doing it, we got white people who start, and I'm saying this, white, various officers doing or taking advantage of the authority they have. It's not really, how do I feel? It's almost like, well, how can we prepare for the next time? Because I think we had this, I know I said before, it's the system. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I never really appreciated how it was done. Now, the people doing the work, I'll say, I would never want to do the work. Somebody has to go deal with people who are doing crimes and other things like that. And I wouldn't want to do that. So I applaud that. But at the same time, it's like, when is it going to happen again? How is the system going to correct itself? Is the system ever going to correct itself? Because the dynamics that's set up in that situation, I'm like, okay, you guys do something out there. Saw if it was going to stick on the wall. It didn't. And then now we're at where we're at.
So what they call it, Parrish, and all of these people that have been fired for this, and what it relates to directly in the term and in the field of law enforcement, is we have what we call a duty to intercede, right? And the duty to intercede is supposed to have other officers that aren't directly involved in the situation put some level of deterrent in front of the action at hand. So if, like Jeff said, we're riding in a car, he jumps out and says, there you go, right there. And we see him getting off on somebody, right? Like, my job is to intercede. Like, I have to try to prevent the behavior, take the proper steps, contact the supervisors, make sure that I'm doing something to basically like eliminate this situation that's gotten too excessive from continuing, right? And so that is the reason that you have not those 5 individuals, but other people outside of that situation starting to catch the backlash of that, which really should be the front lash of it too, right? So it's kind of that's kind of where that's at as far as that whole situation goes. And yeah, when we start talking about, and I just want to take this opportunity to say that I am an equal opportunist. I think that we've talked a lot about white officers and non-black officers because we've never had black officers in this situation that we've dissected. We've talked about them and we've been critical of the mistakes that they've made out there and in the field, and we've given them everything we could as far as putting our perspective on what we think about that. these guys are not in general going to be left out of that. And that's why we did this episode today. This is tragic on all levels, and it's just it sets us all back. I mean, obviously, I'm the resident police officer of this show in general, and there's a lot of work in which a lot of us Black officers do to get out there and make a good stride and step forward. And this system is not always built for it to be easy for Black men to enter it and take it on as a career, let alone maintain it or sustain it, right? Because how many people do you have at the top that look like you to protect you? How many people do you have at the bottom that kind of like nurture you as you're in this culture? And that's what I want to get to next is the culture. The culture of this is that this is not, like Parrish said, like just something that happened randomly. There's some culture issues within that department that have to be addressed as well too. And I'm not going to use that to negate their behavior, but culturally, their department has something that needs to be spoken about. And I'll kind of get into why I think that is later, but it's a lot of different layers on this outside of just them having a personal issue or not, because we don't know, right? There's a lot that's being said, personal issue or not. But what we do know is that what we saw on tape, what we heard, what we've seen so far is not only inhumane, but it's destructive to the future relationships of policing in the community, whether you Black, white, Asian, Mexican, any level of police officer in any race. They fucked it up for everybody and set everybody back.
Which goes back to my initial question. Will it ever change? In one of our episodes a while ago, I was like, how can this ever change if that's the norm? If that's the culture, that's blue protecting blue. It's like, will it ever really change then? Like, where can you really go from that if that's the norm and that's the behavior?
I think it will change, though. And I think this is the part where I do get forced onto being somewhat of an advocate of them, but not necessarily. I'm not going to stand in front of all the bullets for them either. What I will say is that, I mean, this is an isolated event in one day that we know about. And there are people that go outside and do this job 24 hours a day. So yes, we shouldn't have anything of this magnitude happen within that time frame, but are we going to negate the rest of the hours in a day in which the rest of these people do their job? I'm Black. I stand in front of you guys today and in front of anybody. And you'll be hard pressed to find a report, a video camera, or anything that says I didn't beat somebody's ass any day on work or let somebody else beat somebody's ass in front of me. So will it ever end? I mean, it ends with me. I'm not them. And I have to carry the criticism of them, but I'm not them. So I'm not going to allow them to define us, although I understand they're highlighting us in this moment. And that's something that I can't defend. They can't define me or the rest of the Black officers that I know that go out there and do their thing, but they are highlighting us right now. And they put us in a room with other people that say, hey, now it's you guys too. So Are we all alike? Can we all be in this together?
Yep.
We're not all in that together, because I come to work and I've been doing this for almost 9 years and I've never done anything like that. And I've worked in the deepest environments. I've been in there with the lions and the tigers and everything. And I've never had to choose that level of policing to do any of that. I've always treated people with respect, and I've built great relationships doing that. So once again, that's why I say those relationships, when those things happen, I still have to go back and have conversations with people and say, hey, we have to reiterate that that's not the way we do things. That's not the way I do things. And I have to have conversations, whether they're jokingly or they're very straightforward. And so it's just one of those things that, like I said, it's tragic because it sets us all back. Even y'all my close friends. I got to explain that shit to y'all too to some level.
I think changes. I think, the way in which these things have occurred is through systematic legislation and propaganda mindsets and things of that nature. Whether, people believe that Blacks are inherently criminals and evil and wrong and violent and things of that nature. And so, things have been in place to keep Blacks, in control, right? So we got systematic oppression, we got systematic discrimination, things of that nature. So I think in the same way that things were systematically created to create a certain mindset when dealing with Black people or racism in general, I think systematically the change has to happen. I think there's not one thing that can change, hearts and minds, right? I think it has to be a systematic process. I mean, if you see there's a county in Florida somewhere where it's illegal for them to just pull people over for minor traffic violations and stuff like that, and the police officers still do it. You know, it's illegal for them to do it, but they're still doing it. They're doing what they want to do because.
Man, they're not even teaching race in Florida, bro. We can't bring Florida.
Well, I'm just saying in general. I'm saying like I think the system has to change. I think people are relying on individuals to change. You know, we talk about hearts and minds. I think if the system, I think look, our justice system says if the crime, if the time is crazy, right? You got to take this crazy amount of time because you do a crime, then people won't do the crime because of the time that they have to take. You know what I'm saying? So if you make the crime so punishable that people aren't engaging in discriminatory behaviors, aren't engaging in violent behaviors, and then just saying, hey, put your hands behind your back when your hands are already behind your back, then I think when people start going to jail for it, not because they made the news, not because somebody is dead or somebody is, you know, beat up and suing, just because they say, hey, hold on, you know, this is wrong. We have to hold you to a higher standard. And people start going to jail. Officers are losing their pension and they're being placed in a newspaper and things of that nature. Then that's going to change hearts and minds because people who go in with ill intentions will stay away from this field at least, right?
Yeah.
But until that happens, you're not going to see real change.
Yeah, but we're talking about like and from what you're sharing is people who are doing a crime that's not in the authority positions that these cops are in. It's a different, like systematically, they're in a different position doing a crime than if a layman was doing that same crime. Like, if
I'm gonna get a spin though, P. I'm gonna get a spin. I think I want to say this on here before. But me and my wife went to China like 2016 or 17 or some year. But they was like, ain't no crime here. Ain't no crime here. You know why? Because they'll cut your fucking hand off, put you in the prison for forever.
Yeah, but you're talking about
but apply that to the police too.
That's what I'm saying.
Above and beyond the duty of whatever the hell it is, tab or the oath, I don't know it. But if you go above and beyond that and do something criminal, book their ass too.
And that's the difference, though. They're not booking them in America like they probably do in China. So it's a different systematic
it's not punitive.
Situation.
It's not punitive. You hear about police officers, you know, and that's not all cases, right? You know, because we do know there are counties. Look, you know, shots. You know, let's applaud to a certain degree. You know, and I'm not knowing the full story, so I'll say at this moment with the information that I know, let's applaud Memphis Police
CJ Davis
commissioner for immediately firing the officers. And you know, and then you know, criminal charges being brought up very quick by the DA, right? I think that's what we haven't seen in the past. And people were why is there no protest? Well, the protest has always been because of the lack of action, right? Of response. And now there is a response. There is no need to protest in that regard. You may go out and protest again for change and you know, again, policing and things of that nature, but you're not protesting the commissioner of the Memphis Police Department because that commissioner acted very swiftly and was able to even fire those officers and get them arrested before the tape even came out.
Yeah. But I don't want to be critical of somebody at that level because it's above my pay grade and I've never hit that level of decision making. But let's look at the facts here.
No, wait a minute. You got life and death in your hands, Taff, with a gun and a badge and a fucking taser. You do got that level of decision making.
No, I'm talking about to choose what action she wanted to make against the officers. I don't supervise people like that. That's not my choice to make. But what I will say about that is that, and I'm trying to do this in a way that I'm respecting all parties in this. There's at least 5 or 6 different body cameras that were out there, right? That we got to see
and street cameras.
And street cameras that we got to see vantage points of this incident take place. Some of these situations in which we encounter, someone makes an argument sometimes that makes this controversial or somewhat subjective or objective, depending on how you look at it. This did not happen with these body cameras, right? Like, and that's why I said culturally, let's talk about that. In their department, not only did their body cameras capture this incident, and we didn't hear about a cover-up, we didn't hear about a scandal, we didn't hear about nothing. We just saw these people taking action with this body camera capturing it all. That means they were aware of it. That means that they probably felt justified in their behavior. Like, what I'm saying is that if I'm the commissioner to some extent, without me knowing all of the details of what it takes to do a job at that level, you don't have a choice but to fire these people because people will start asking about the level of like anarchy within this department. I mean, you when we have incidents like this happen, not all the time do they get captured on body camera footage. Now, for what reasons those are, I don't know, and I don't want to speculate. I know there's a lot of different things that can happen with a body camera. They're not always reliable. Sometimes the vantage point doesn't give the best story of what's happening. In this one, no matter how we looked at it from those 5 different points, it looked like a beating. It looked like a massacre. It looked like you guys said, somewhat personal, but none of those things that it looked like was professional. So I don't think that you have any other choice but to take swift action on a situation like this. And I think that it was the right response. But I think that what other choices was she?
Oh, go ahead, P.
So no, I was going to piggyback Dewan and just kick it right back to you from what Dewan was sharing too. She acted swiftly on what was shown in that camera, in the camera angles, right? And what she, gathered from her data collection in that quick time period. I mean, we've seen that same camera angles happen to others that were not fired or addressed immediately. So I still do applaud, like the one said, that she at least took the actions regardless of, hey, this is going to go to trial, blah, 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 blah. She did everything before it was time for it to go to trial, like they've allowed other cases to take place. So maybe that's why the response from the community was different, but still ain't cool. But at least she did something early enough to say, all right, it ain't right, and we're going to address it before we even let it go to the courts, like before we let it just play out and let these individuals leave on pay or, be gone for a while. She actually did something before all that. So I do applaud that.
I think that, we may have seen firings of these situations. We have seen, typically what we see is a suspension, right?
Yep.
A suspension with pay. That's the typical norm, right?
Yeah.
The recent norm,
yep.
Right? We're starting to see actually officers get suspended, but with pay. And I understand that to a certain degree, right? Because, for every incident in which, they are caught doing something wrong, there are people out there also lying on, officers too, right? Whatever. I think in this situation, not only did she fire them, but charges were brought up too, right? And I know that's not on necessarily, that's more on the DA, but you know how it is. The DA, the mayor, the police chief, they all they all got a group chat together. You know what I'm saying? They talking about these things and what's happening. So I think that is where maybe she acted in a way that was a lot faster than we typically have seen, because there is a speculation out there, and it could be speculation, but if there were white officers, what would have been the narrative? Would the narrative have different, would the conversation been different about what was happening and, how it would have been spun. And so I think that one of the issues that we look at in these type of situations that we keep telling the citizens that they need to respond better, or, and we all teach our kids how to interact with police officers, but really they need to stop teaching the citizens and teach these officers how to better interact with citizens, right? How to better interact. And not everybody's aggressive, and some people are having it, you got to think about it. You get pulled over by the cops, they flash the light in your eye, got a gun, you start to have a panic attack, you get scared, fight, flight, or freeze. We always talk about that. Some people, they run because they're scared. Some people, they're stuttering because they're scared. Some people, when you put my arm behind my back, because my body's not supposed to do that. So I'm not resisting. I'm trying not to let you break my arm. And so I think we have to look at that. But we still find ourselves as black men. We watched 5 other black men and a white officer brutally assault another black man. Like, one of the officers, guys, I don't know if y'all seen this. He set up like he was kicking a field goal.
Oh yeah, while he was on the ground, he actually took a full-fledged run kick to do in the face, and then there was a couple of them that was just punching him while his hands was behind his back. And then the killer is when he was slumped over against the car, everybody just watched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. I gotta. My bad, P. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No. And the thing, and I'm gonna keep on saying this because of. So they're Dewan, you just said that the police officers need to be trained on how to deal with the community, right? That's what you shared. Their task force is Scorpion, which stood for Street Crimes Operations to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. Come on, man. If this, I don't know. I just get frustrated when I see and read all these things. I think you coined a term about it in regards to Black men continually seeing the violence against other Black men. I forgot the term that you used, but I personally at this point am seeing that regularly. What is it?
Secondary trauma.
Man, that's what it is. So after a while, I can see why people get frustrated, especially if you coined the group to do a certain thing and that's totally opposite what they do. And there's just too many emotional things that's connected to it that just creates the frustration that I personally feel in this topic. And I don't, and again, I'm going to always ask, when's the next time? Because now it's becoming a norm. And then when the next time happens, is everybody going to start getting fired? Or are we going to start really making any systematic changes?
Right.
And last, I'll say this. There's this great book, because we always promote books and reading, is How to Be Anti-Racist. Mm-hmm. And it's not really about being against race. It's actually looking at systems and changing how they function. That's what anti-racist is working against those systems that's been created to push people down. I encourage people to go read it because it'll give you that mindset like, dang, it is about the system and what people work within, because they're just following what the norm is. And that's why I keep on asking the question, like, how do you be a cop when you know this is what it was created for and how it worked, and the change that need to happen are not happening in the way that we're asking for. So
yeah. I was gonna go real quick. I got a call from my uncle, bro. Literally last night, my son was up late. It's like 12:45 at night. I hear my son was a little sick. He like, bro, what's different from now when I was a youngster in the 70s and 80s to what y'all going through right now? I'm like, oh gee, nothing. The only thing, we got a phone that can really show the difference. And I was like, bro, I really had to think. Me and my wife thought about this for a long time. We had kids like in our mid to late 30s. Do I really want to bring a young boy or a young girl into this world to go through all this strife that we going through as people? I got a son. Y'all got sons. So y'all understand, like, the conversation we got to have is different, bro, than everybody else. And even my OG, my uncle, like, man, I had to do the same shit with my son, bro, 20, 30 years ago, even though we in the same age group. Why do we have to keep having these same conversations? And then you add another layer for people that look like us. How can we win when we already going against the system that's against us, and we also going against people in that system that look like us too, bro? How can we freaking win? It's so sad.
Extremely sad.
Yeah, I think once again that is a hard thing to answer, right? Because I mean, there is no answer for that, right? I mean, there really isn't an answer for that. But I do feel that we have to have people that cross that line, right? I will always say that. In reform, I know that the public asks for reform a lot, but I mean, I guess I'm standing on the soapbox for other Black officers to some extent today. Like, black officers, we're the ones in there fighting for reform as well too. We have to go through a lot of that as well too. Like, when we're talking about cultural norms of policing in general, there's so much shit that goes on in policing that we have to, like, number one, if you decide to even do this field, you have to go through and you're criticized for it, right? Like, the way I may interact with the public, or other African-American officers may interact with the public, or other officers that interact with the public, it may be looked at sometimes as even lazy or not adequate to what the cultural standard is, because we're in a position to try it. We have to go in there and make that reform. Now, I will say sometimes that does come with some level of gaining like ground, right? When people watch you do things in a different way and you effectively communicate in a different way, it does help. But we are still far behind that point as a whole.
Tab, let me tell you something, though, bro. Let me tell you something real quick. I'm gonna let you go. You are totally different than a lot of officers, and the people that are in our group that are officers that are men of color. Y'all have this charisma, this personability, this customer service, this whatever word you want to use, whatever the word you want to use. Y'all have it that's different than other cops that we know, because you go into it with like an understanding of, hey, what's going on? You okay? Not like, oh, I'm the police. That's the totally different approach that a lot of officers have. You go into it with a sympathetic view of, how can I help you? Which is what the police is supposed to be. And I know you as one of your close friends for over 20 years. You are a person that has charisma. You walk in any room, you're a magnet. People are going to gravitate towards you. You know how to talk to people. You know how to diffuse a situation or whatever it is without going in there acting like you got a gun and a badge.
And you
I'm gonna take a little.
I'm
gonna take a little further, Tav. The reason why you're different from the other officers that I'm referring to, and I'm not saying I know all your friends, but a majority of your friends are not police officers, and we hold you accountable. Whereas I'm thinking probably these guys are surrounded by the like-mindedness that they have. So that's a place that I really stand on. If I can be proven differently, please do, because the way in which they act and engage, and if they've been carrying on this way, that means it's like, oh, you like me, so we're gonna do the same thing. Whereas you not around always police officers, you're around other people. It's like, yo, if you did this, I ain't kicking it with you no more. If I saw you do any of that, I'll be like, dude, now I'm gonna call you to the carpet and be like, don't come around me if that's how you're gonna act. So that may be a difference. They're probably around each other all day and they're like, this is normal. We do this all day. It's good. That's
Maybe
that blue on blue.
And I appreciate everybody for those sentiments. And I mean, thank you. I would say that maybe that's part of where it needs to be at. There needs to be people in spaces that take those things and handle them the way I do. I don't look to handle things politically correct, right? Like we're here having a show right now. Who knows? I'm pretty sure someone from whatever it is, police department I work from is watching this show, right? I'm pretty sure that other people are watching the show as well. And my whole thing is to always be well-rounded. And I think that maybe we should have people in those spaces at the top that do that are administrators over things like this, right? That can bring that policy back down, because I think culture and everything, it goes from the top to the bottom to the top. And maybe that as much as police officers or people that sit in the room make those decisions think that their decision-making is reflective of that, it's not, right? Like, I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, but it sounds like you guys as the public are saying more than I'm actually saying about it right now, that the people that have some level of control over this, their departments and what it looks like, maybe it is that we need to have more consideration on who's at the top of that. Because when they push that button, their fingerprint is all over the culture of that department.
Well, policing is about law and order, bruh. And so because it's about law and order, I don't know what order they're trying to restore, but law and order, I think the whole system needs to be changed, right? There's reason why people like you are great police officers, because you have experience walking in different phases of life. You know, you've been uptown, you've been downtown. You know what I'm saying? You've been in the hood, you've been in the burbs. So you understand that people move different and operate differently, right? But you have experience. Taff, how long was you in the police academy for?
I was in the police academy 6 months.
No. And the JC thing, and the peace officer thing.
Oh, I did altogether. It was close to like a year.
So you did like a year of police academy, right? When you was in the actual academy, how many times a week you went?
In the intensive format, it was every day, Monday through Friday.
For how many weeks?
Ooh. I mean, half a year. So what? Like almost, 6 months. So
6 months, right?
Yeah.
Memphis PD has the police academy for 9 weeks. They go 3 hours a week. So they go 1 day a week for 9 weeks. There's no degree requirement. I mean, you have to get a degree or at least an associate's within 2 years of being on the job. There's no degree requirement. There's no system in place to try to properly educate these officers. And I guarantee you, if we look at a lot of these police departments in the South, we're going to see the same exact thing.
And with and with age, when Jacoby went into his age level was different. What you 25, Jacoby? In that
I didn't start my career until I was about 28, 29.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to what y'all said real quick though. But look at that though, right? We're not saying don't get pulled over in Memphis, right? Because this is what could happen to you, right? We're looking at this as this is what happens in all of policing, right? So it still comes back to that.
No, Tab, that's true. No, Tab, pause. Don't get pulled over. Period.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best thing, but what I'm saying is that the stain comes from this 9-week police academy in the South, whereas in California, even whether we're talking bad or police officers, our time is immensely more than that. Like, I mean, it's a lot more than that. So it's kind of like one of those things too, where I'm just going back to it on see how some people who didn't have to walk the walk that some of us had to walk, put in the effort or time that we had to, stains the whole thing. That's all I'm saying. No excuses for anybody or anything like that. I'm just saying, look at the ripple effect of that. look at how much the work has been now taken and destroyed of people like me, right? Like, yes, I get it. I may be a rare commodity in all of this policing thing that goes on, but look at that. Even my work in itself is destroyed by 6 jackasses in Memphis that I never knew or will know.
Taff, how is that different? And I'm not saying it's right, but how is that different from we as 4 law-abiding, educated family men who take care of our families, we're married, we wake up and we do the right thing every day.
We attempt to.
Try to.
But we are still held accountable and responsible for a black man killing another black man down the street in Chicago, New York, Oakland, Houston, wherever, right? So I mean, I don't want to absolve. If I'm going to say black man, we got to do better, because we do have to do better, and we have to hold each other accountable along the way. And obviously, we talk about all that stuff that happened in Chicago and all those cities is just crazy, and it's a black eye. Well, it's more than a black eye. We have to hold police officers in the same regard, because one of the things that changed, I tell people this all the time. I remember before I was a Kappa, I was just Dewan on campus doing whatever I wanted to do, doing whatever I wanted to do. Once I became a Kappa, I felt that I had a responsibility to protect that name of that organization a little better, even more so than I had for myself. At what point do you say I have an obligation to protect the name of of policing and what it represents and what it stands for? And that's black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whoever you are. What point do you say I respect this enough, my badge, my honor, this thing that I went through, this, that I'm going to protect the name and the sanity? Therefore, I'm not going to intentionally put myself in situations like that. And if I see an officer doing something that is disparaging of our name and our reputation, I'm going to intervene. Period. Point blank. I'm not because what happens if I intervene and he's a rank above me? He can write me up, or I get kicked off the task force, or I lose my job or my recognition within the department because I'm doing the right thing. That has to change. Accountability starts within, for sure, in all regards.
But that's
is it let me ask this. Is it a sense in some police department that it really is them against us? Because that's what I really feel a lot. Like, even though it's like, oh, we're here for the community, I really feel a lot of times it's like, now we the police, and we gotta do whatever we need to do in the community. Like, it really seems like there's a them against us type of mentality that I see, because a lot of it happens. I'm like, man, if it was humane and life was important, some of that stuff wouldn't happen.
I would say this, you guys, the points that y'all made were on point and spot on, but it does matter, and this is why: implicit bias. And until the numbers show me something different, implicit bias is something that we do have to battle. And I'm just talking about law enforcement specifically as it pertains to minorities, primarily blacks, but other ones as well too. Mm-hmm. If there are still people in a position that don't have this well-rounded mind of thinking that you guys are saying that I have, right? Whether they're black or white or whatever race they are, and they are looking at these things that y'all know, because y'all have all been listed on mine before, a background packet, and their implicit bias doesn't have anything to make them relatable to other candidates that are minority to get into this field, then the numbers are still farly disparaging. And that's something that bothers me. Even though I saw 5 black men make some unexplainable, you can't come back from type of choices, I still don't feel that there's enough minority representation in the field of law enforcement. So when I talk about getting set back all these years and implicit bias, you have to remember there's still a good group of people that come from an old school system that are still making the decisions and pressing the buttons on who gets the green light and the red light on entering this field. They are still, and because that gatekeeper is still there to some extent, like Parrish and other friends that I have, they wouldn't even think about jumping into the field of law enforcement, right? And I will say, these 5 black men are going to be the minority of what I feel like minority police officers and good police officers do when they go to work. And so I would like to see more minorities in this field. I would like to see them feel comfortable getting in this field. But when you have situations like that come in, not only is it disparaging and despicable to the public, but the people that are the gatekeepers that don't have a good sense or feel for filtering out a good minority candidate to a bad minority candidate is going to take their implicit bias, i.e. situations like this and other situations in the world, and say, is he really a good fit? Because remember, there is no particular standardized, just right or wrong answer to who they decide to give these opportunities and not. And for me, that's the part that becomes the depressing part. That's the part where it's like, damn, I'm doing all this work.
But what do we do?
But no, and now on top of that, do you think they're doing it from not seeing others that are non-black doing it? Like when you said all that, I'm like,
dudes is black,
huh?
They black, bro.
No, they black. But who are their counterparts, and have they watched their counterparts do that and go, oh, this is the norm? Like,
that goes back.
In order to survive in this work, and we talked about this, in order to survive in this work, I got to get along just like everybody else. So when I do these type of things, nobody's gonna really care.
Fuck that. That don't apply here.
You don't think so?
No. The Memphis Police Department is one of the most.
Memphis is a black department.
Black city. It's Chocolate City. It's one of the blackest police departments.
That don't matter to me, but okay, I'll take it.
No, it's one of the blackest cities and blackest police departments in America. So this cultural.
But but you see what I'm saying about systems and how they acting within the system. That's where I'm going.
But I'm saying though, culturally, we're not. The onus still falls on that department, and if that department is primarily, if minorities are not the minority in their department. That's why I'm saying this whole situation is highly unique. We don't have someone else to point the finger at. It's an us thing. And even with us, I'm saying, just like you guys are saying, this little 9-week ass police department in Memphis is going to have a ripple effect on Jaquan Smith, who decides he wants to be a police officer in California. And the person that decides if he gets that job is also going to have their implicit bias put into the situation. Not saying it happens all the time, but there's no way in a job like this that's not black or white that people can't tell me implicit bias doesn't play a factor in how they make decisions, whether that be interacting with the public, who they hire, or who they culturally click to do the type of work that they do, whether that be bad or good work.
Well, technically, Memphis Police Department actually is only 13% African American. In comparison, Dallas is like 24%, right? So that's still a high number. 13% of police, officers being black, that's still a high number, and so you think that's a high enough number to influence some type of change. They have a black police chief. She's a woman, and obviously, she responded in a way that she responded. And we also know that, unfortunately, when police chiefs come in, a lot of times they outsiders from outside departments. They don't always have the support, especially if you're a black person.
We seen it here in Dallas. Now, you remember that, Dwan?
Oh yeah. The police chief, especially if they don't have the support here, or from the other ranks within the police force. Even if they wanted to get rid of a program like Scorpion or whatever these different programs are, it's hard for them. So, I will definitely acknowledge that, but I do think there could be more. And maybe let's treat them like they treat the world. They make the world so punitive, and the United States is the most punitive country in the nation. In the world. Well, let's penalize these police officers. You know what I'm saying? We got people out here going to jail doing years
football numbers
for petty crimes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But we got, you got police officers out here, getting pulled over with DUIs, you know what I'm saying? Shooting people, all that stuff, stealing, taking money from crime scenes, all that. And there's nothing that says, hold on, this is not reflective of who we want our identity to be. To a point, it's almost like we want our identity to be this because we don't make it punitive enough to where people will do things differently.
Right.
It's kind of like, oh, we embrace this identity. And I think that's what
I'm saying.
I'm with you. I think, oh man, we all play sports. And we understand the sports right now, even to this day. Like, this is the first year we got 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl in NFL. How great have we been in that sport, bro? Like, we've been kicking ass in that sport to only have 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl for the first time. So you have to be that much greater than your counterpart. And we're talking about in all realms of life and work. That much greater than your counterparts. No mistakes, clean slate, be that much greater, be that much of a leader, be that much of a great player, be that much of a team player, be all those things, bro. And we can't make these mistakes when we get in these positions of power. Being an officer is a position of power. Like, when you show that badge, bro, you can really walk into any place. I've had one before, not a law enforcement badge, but I had a badge before. I can walk in any establishment and be like, blase, blase, blah.
And it's like, whatever you want to do.
And I can do whatever I want to do, right? Yep. But you got to go, you have to have some humanity and some discern to say, look, I do have this badge, but I'm still a human. They're a human. I can't treat them like an asshole or be a, you know what I'm saying, an asshole to them. I got to go into that situation with a little bit of humanity, grace, and all that. To
and respect.
Exactly. So I think that's the thing that the law enforcement got to push a little bit more. Stop being so. We got to change the guns.
Because here's the thing,
we got to be human. Shit.
And from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there like this? Oh well, in order to give respect in the community, I got to give that respect. Yeah. Like, I thought that's something that officers ran with, but for some reason it gets lost.
It's not registering, bro.
Like,
I mean, it should be that way.
Respect, you're like, hey, give me space when you talk to me. But then when you know what I'm saying? But then you're countering everything that you're asking for in regards to how you interact with a police officer.
Last thing before I go, cook their ass. Fuck it. Cook them. Cook them.
No, let's all get that out of the way right now.
Cook them.
I hope whoever gets put under that umbrella of this whole thing, especially the ones on scene. I don't know if we're supposed to wait until the facts come in. I'm not doing none of that. I hope their asses get fried. Legally, criminally, I hope their asses get fried, because I'm for all that. I don't come to work and make those type of mistakes. And I don't see in no part of my job me ever making a mistake like that. And when I have people that I have to answer for in the middle of Memphis that I don't know, cook their ass. Just like Jeff said, I'm not there. We ain't sparing you at all. Whoever y'all are, whatever people y'all know, I hope this get viral, get sent to you. Somebody send it in your DM. I hope your asses get cooked. Because if I'd have been out there, I'd have did my duty intercede. Y'all talking about Gunatello? I'd have been gunning all of y'all asses. I'd have been telling on everybody before we went to trial. I'd have been home that night and I'd have been back at work the next day because I'd have told on everybody. And that stands for anybody I work with in any time in life. I've never had to work with a person like that. But if I ever encounter that, don't worry about if I'm going to be snitching or ratting or not. Find the biggest piece of cheese and hand it over to me, because I'm telling. That's just it. And it's not about it being a rat or anything like that. That's the right thing to do. Like everybody said in front of you today, we have the power to, us in law enforcement, to affect and changes people's lives in a positive way or a negative way. But that negative far outweighs the positive based on some of the decisions that we can make. If you out here doing anything to abuse your power, your authority that way, please don't do that shit around me if you want to get your check next week. Because I'm gonna end all that shit. I'm telling. I don't find nothing cool about that. I got to stand on that as a black man. I got to stand on that as an officer, a friend, all of my friends and peers watching, my family. That's my responsibility to them, and first and foremost, the community I serve. And I worked hard to get to where I'm at. If I let some little punk come out there and do what he doing and fuck my shit up, you out your rabbit ass mind. It's gonna be a whole different way they get me up out of this building. Trust me. They try.
That's your responsibility.
My message go back to, I think, something we said a long time ago, like when we first got started. Is I know that a lot of people don't look to vote or engage with your government agencies, but we all said, man, locally it's important. So with your commissioners and all this other stuff, this is where I'm like, and I've been saying, like, how do we make the change? And so now I'm giving my response as we closing this out is, man, if people are listening to this, and I know I particularly am not a fan of a lot of cops in general, but I do kind of vote when it comes to like the commissioners and things like that, because they're the ones that's going to hold people accountable. So I think that's where the change starts, is that you got to locally, and I'm not going to say it's always going to be in our favor, but you got to locally get involved and be like, hey, if I don't like something, I'm going to put some people in there that's going to make some changes in it. I'm going to hold them accountable. So that's where I think it will start, because I mean, DeJuan, we talked about this before. Voting locally and putting in the right commissioners can make those changes. And the reason why I say that, because CJ Davis just did it. She was like, hey, they put me in here to hold people accountable, and she actually did. So,
and let me just back onto what Parrish said real quick about that. This is going to be my $1 million worth of game. Shout out to Gillian Wallow. People don't underestimate exactly what Parrish just said. There are officers, community members, especially, but I'm talking about the law enforcement family in general. When those DA positions are coming up, those elected positions, those elected sheriff positions, the way that people feel about that inside of the law enforcement building, trust me, they have political views and feelings about that because of how they feel it could shape, change, or shake or alter how they have to do their job. So you paying attention and going out and then voting and putting in your 2 cents or your 3 cents or your perspective on that voting process is very, very important to the outlook of what the question is that Parrish asked earlier, is when it's going to change. If you notice, or if you've ever had conversation, or if you've had the privilege of being around certain law enforcement people, they feel a certain type of way about different DAs to get these positions. I'll tell you right now, I don't really care about the DAs that get selected as far as if my preference wins or not, because I'm coming in to do my job the right way. But there are people out there that really, really do care about that because they know they do things a certain way, or they want to do things a certain way, and they know that that may be left for more scrutiny. And that's not to say those officers are doing anything wrong, but what I am saying is that they know that these changes coming through could have some type of life-changing or some type of career-changing event on how they come to work and show up and do their job every day. So don't pass up on those processes, because in the meantime, while we are trying to while we do have those good officers out there, that's just another governing body that does hold those officers and other officers accountable.
Yeah.
Rabbit.
I just wanted to say, man, I hope everyone out there, when I say, pray for Tyree Nichols, pray for him, pray for his family. I mean, he has a 4-year-old who life's going to be hard from here on out, trauma, losing their father to police violence. So don't just say thoughts and prayers, actually pray for them and their strength. They're going to need some help, some support. He's from Sacramento, but obviously this happened in Memphis. And so, pray for his loved ones, because, it's hard enough having a loved one die. It's even harder when you see on repeat over and over again their death being played over and over and over again. And through the same people who, if you were in an emergency, you would call. So I say pray as much as you can, guys. Lend a hand, ask his mother, his child if they need anything, show up for them, and things of that nature. And so vote, please vote as much as you can. It matters who's the DA, who are the judges, those things, who's running for the local sheriff. All those things matter. So I can encourage you guys, if you want to do something, you just want to do your little part, just vote, and don't vote with your political beliefs. Vote, with your heart. You know what I'm saying? Vote with your conscience, right? You are a person. Vote for the people who take care of people, and keep that in mind. And as always, you brothers, love y'all, miss y'all. Happy that we back at it again.
Let's get some topics. Let's get some good topics in
here.
Get
some more good topics coming.
Obviously, you guys know, follow us on the IG. We on YouTube. Don't be afraid to DM Perspective and say, hey, I got a topic I want y'all to talk about, or I want to bring to the stage. All that.
And here's another one. If you got a topic that you want to even debate with us back and forth, let us know.
Come on the show, man.
Come on the show. We have an open debate on great topics. Or if you got a question directly want to ask somebody, put it in the messaging or the comments, and we'll address your question. So engage with us. We're
not afraid to be wrong. We married. Our wife tells us we wrong all the time.
Hey, no question.
Conversations are great conversations.
No question is a stupid question, but if your question is stupid, we'll decline your ass from interviewing you. I'm just saying, no question.
Not gonna happen. I appreciate this space, man. I needed it.
We needed it.
We back, baby.
We back.
And shout out to everybody else. We got sponsorship coming through in the future too. So if you got a product you want to sponsor, DM Perspective, let us know. Maybe your topic, your product will sponsor one of our next shows.
Peace.
We gone, baby.